Okay, so I'm going to set up the sheets with some different views. You can see how I've got a perspective view open. I'll just close that rendering dialog, and I also want to put the plan sections elevations onto sheets as well. So at the moment, under sheets, all in the project browser, I've just got one sheet there, and double clicking on that, you can see it's an AO sheet, and I don't want that. So I'm going to delete that sheet, and I'm going to make a new sheet from scratch. So again, just right clicking there, and new sheet, and then click load, and I'm just going to browse into the title blocks folder, which you can see here has some A3 title blocks, and so I just want to make sure I've got the right one. That doesn't look right to me. Sorry, I don't know what I've done here. If I'm in the right folder, just 1 second here. Try this one, but you can always change it. No, that's not right. Okay, so I'll just close this. I do have... Oops. So I'll just delete that sheet again. And maybe I put it in here. No? So what have I done with it? So I normally have these in my template, so they're... Maybe it's in here. No. What have I done with it? I mean, I can just use any title block to begin with, really, but I did want to show you one that was a bit better than the ones that come with the program. Maybe I'll just go to this one for now, A2 landscape. That's not the one I want either. So I'll just pause the video. Okay, so I've got the one I want. I'll actually change this one over. So you can always delete a sheet and remake it, but if you've got one that you've made changes to and you want to keep those changes, but change the title block, you can always just select the title block, click Edit Type, and then load, and then browse and find a different title block. So here's the one I was looking for, and so there we are. So there we are. Now it's easy to make your own title blocks, but if you haven't made one of your own, you can always just use one from the library. So I'm going with an A2 sheet here, and so I'm going to select the title block there and start changing the names. So this I suppose could just be, I'll say it's for me, and project name Beach House, and then the sheet name will be cover sheet. Project number, I'll make that 112211, and the issue date 22/11/2011, and author me. So it's good to put those details in, and then they'll come up on the other sheets as well. And so now I want to put the site plan onto the sheet, and you can see there that that site plan isn't very presentable. So I'm going to right click on that view name, duplicate view, and then duplicate with detailing. Then I'm going to right click on the copy of site that I've just made there, go to rename, and I'm going to call it site, site plan. And now I'm going to start tidying that view up to make it look the way a site plan should. So I'm going to turn on the, also change the scale there to 1 to 200. I'm going to hide the reference planes by selecting one of them and then typing VH on the keyboard, which hides the whole category. Same with the elevation symbols, VH will hide those. And then I'll turn on shading. Now I'm going to use consistent colours. And that way the shading will be the same colour on all of my sheets. Now one last thing you can put on, which you should have on a site plan, is a label for the boundaries. Now I know it's not so important for interiors, but it's good for you to see these things because this is the way drawings should be presented generally. I'm going to use tag by category, and you can see there that there's nothing on the boundary for me to tag. Right, so to give me the boundary, I'm going to go to Massing and Site, and then use Property Line, and I'm going to go to Create by Sketching. Now, I can't snap to the corners of my topo surface there, but if I go back to the original site floor plan, then I will be able to just draw lines because I've got reference planes there that I can trace over. It's a very simple site to draw, so it's a nice thing to have the property line there. I'll finish that, and then now back in my site plan, if you zoom in, you'll see that there is a new dashed line there, which is the property line or the boundary. And now going back to annotate and tag by category, I can select the boundaries. Now I'm going to turn off the leader, and I can then just place the boundary dimensions on each side. So a nice thing to have, not essential, but it is something that you should at least be aware of. So that should be on all your site plans whenever you show a view like this. That survey symbol won't print, but I'm going to hide it anyway, so VH. And then again the survey point, again VH. And that looks reasonable for a site plan. If you want to, you can label different areas, and that is again something that you should think about. So using the text tool under annotation, you can set the height in properties. So I'm just going to set Arial 2 mil, and so I'll put garden or front garden, and front yard even. Let's change the size of that. And to save you doing a lot of typing, you can copy text from one place to another, and it's one of the real giveaways actually when you see drawings without a lot of notes that the person doing the drawings isn't very experienced. So you can do it either with 2 words or one, front yard and backyard, and then this area here can be labelled as well, so just using the text tool again, and I'll just click to make a new text box, so patio, and this could be rotated by clicking and dragging on the rotate symbol, and then moved into position. And then these roof areas can be labelled, because someone looking at this drawing isn't going to know what they're looking at necessarily, and it's much clearer if you just label it. And again, this can just be copied now to those other, oops, those other roof areas. I'll just try that again. There we go. Should really have a slope arrow, but that's not essential. Here you can see the stair is showing me that arrow there. So again, I'm just going to hide the whole thing in the view. Just to keep an eye out for any little issues like that. And actually down here, it wouldn't hurt to label that that path, but it's probably fairly clear with the pavers there. So I'll leave it like that. So you want to go through each view and set it up like that before you try and put it onto the sheet. It's much easier than doing it after you've put it onto the sheet. So now back on the cover sheet, I can simply drag that site plan onto the sheet. Okay, so that's working fairly well. And then the drawing schedule as well can go onto the first sheet. So actually I'll put the site plan over to the side. And then you'll see under schedules, you should have an automatically generated door and window schedule. To make a drawing list under view, you can just go to schedules and then sheet list, and then add in the fields that you want. So I just want sheet name, sheet number, sheet issue date, and drawn by could be there as well. That's about it. So I'm going to lift the or move the sheet number to the end just by selecting it and using move down. And yep, that's okay. So I'll click OK. So it's automatically generated that sheet list for me. Now back on the cover sheet, I can simply drag that sheet list onto the page. Can make the rows or the columns, so different sizes fairly easily just by dragging there. So that's a really important thing to have on your cover sheet for any proper set of drawings. Okay, and then for the main part of the sheet, I probably want a perspective view. So I'm going to go back now to my list of perspectives. And you can see these are all interiors, so I'm going to use some of these definitely, but I want the exterior view that I've got, which should be in here. Oh, maybe I've deleted it. I'll just make a new one. So back in the lower ground floor plan, I'm going to make a new camera view from the backyard, looking towards the house. And then to adjust this, you can use the crop region, but just be careful with that. And also the steering wheel. So I'm going to change the look there so it's looking up a little bit. And so now I can see that there's a going to be a problem with the topo surface there because I can see the edge of it. Right, so to mask that, I'm simply going to copy some more of the foliage that I've got here down that passageway. And you often find you end up being the landscape designer in a kind of quick way when you're doing even preliminary presentations, because you've got to see these things. It just looks incomplete otherwise. Also, I saw before there was a problem with this wall not quite touching the ground. So I'm just going to select that and then put a base offset there of say -200 to make sure it goes down far enough. Now back in my new 3D view, that's looking a lot more complete. So I'm just going to go to realistic and see how it looks shaded. That's probably okay. So now I'm going to check the sun position. So I'm going to start by turning shadows on. And you can see they're actually okay, but I want to set it a bit more accurately than this. So I'm going to go to the sun settings. Now if you're still using 2011, it's on the shadows button. So if you just click on that shadows button, you'll find the graphic display options there, but in 2012 it's now sun settings. And then you need to get to the sun settings in the next dialog box if it's in 2011, and that'll take you to this dialog box. And so there you need to set it to still and then pick a starting sun position. So I've actually got a render sun set up already, but I'll just do that again so you can see how I've done that. So I'm going to start with summer solstice, and you can see it's got the location, the date and the time. Now I'm going to click OK, and you can see now I've got a very different shadow position. Now to check that the sun's coming from the right direction, I'm going to go back to the true north view, and you can see there that the orientation is the same as all my other plans. I've drawn a reference plane to mark where the sun should be coming from. That marks true north. Now I've drawn it at 178 degrees, but you can always just do it at 180. It's only 2 degrees off if you have that just as a straight line, but it needs to be from that direction. So if then you go to manage, and then under position you've got rotate true north. Now just correct me on this, north is at the back of the property, isn't it? Is that right? True north? The back does?
The beach is at the back of the property.
Yeah, and that's the north side, isn't it? Or is that the...
So the beach is at the back.
Okay. Alright. Yeah, I thought that... I'm pretty sure that is north anyway. We'll just say that's north. And they can tell you it's wrong if they've got a problem with it. So, okay, so this here is north at this end of the reference plane, not this end. So I'm going to use rotate true north here. And now I can move that base point onto my reference plane, and then I'm going to start with the angle snapping to that reference plane. I'm going to bring it round to vertical. So now you can see that this line is pointing north or pointing up, and the whole thing's been rotated. Now in the other drawings, in the other plans, everything's still rotated the same way. It's only in that true north view that the orientation changes. So what that means now is if I go back to 3D view 10, the sun is coming from a completely different direction. It's all based on the compass position. So what that will let me do now, if I go back into my sun settings, is set an accurate date and time and get the shadows to be projected according to that based on location. Now, summer sun's not that good to work with. I'm going to duplicate this anyway. So summer solstice, I'm going to leave. I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to call this maybe just my sun to begin with. So I'm going to set the date to around October, and then time I'll bring to maybe I'll try the morning, apply, and that's not too bad, but I'll try and go a bit later in the day, see how the shadows change. So Okay, so that might work fairly well. I've got some light coming into this room here, and I've got the shadows cast onto the wall there, but not too long. I could always try even midday. I mean, you're going to get very different colours if you go too close to midday. So I'm trying to just go either side of that. I don't want the shadows to be too long. So 11, I think, is probably the best time there. That should work pretty well. Okay, so now I'm going to try and do a quick render. So just save my file. Okay, so going into the render setup, I'll set it to low. You should be able to do yours on medium at least. And again, I'm just going to leave it on screen resolution, but you should be able to set it to print resolution as well, but that's going to take longer. So I'm going to leave it on screen, and I'm going to do a quick render. Alright, so very basic render, I know, but that'll do for now. And so I want to put that onto the sheet. So I'm just going to use Save to Project. Give it a name, so I'm going to call this Perspective from Rear. Close this, render dialog, and now going on to the sheet again. And simply drag from the rendering section, which wasn't there before, and then I've got perspective from rear. I can just drag that onto the sheet. Now to change the size, you can right click and then go to activate view, and then you should be able to just drag the edges there, and then you can right click and deactivate the view to get back to working on the sheet. I'm going to just, with the view there selected, or the viewport, I can drag that line across in the tag there, and yep, that's probably okay. And then going back to the perspective, I've already got one I rendered earlier of the interior, so I'm going to put that onto the sheet as well. So I'm just going to rename this, and I'll call that perspective living area, living and kitchen. So again, that can just be dragged onto the sheet. And make it the same size. Again, it's going to right click, activate view, select it, and then just click and drag on the corner there to try and match the size of the other one. Now it's different proportions, but I'll just bring that down a little bit. I think it's not going to fit otherwise. Right click to deactivate, and then here actually that name's a bit long, so it's not quite fitting there, so I'll just call this living and kitchen. And then the other one, I'll again activate the view by right clicking and then just drag that down a bit and then deactivate. So now I should be able to just nudge that across, and this one too. So that's just fitting, but that's okay. So I've got a bit more room there, and maybe I can change that layout a bit. The site plan may fit here. The sheet list is going to get longer, so I'm not going to go too far with that. So actually no, I'll leave a bit of room. So maybe the site plan could actually be 1 to 100. So I can either go back to the site plan view here and change the scale, or a quick way is just to select it on the sheet, and then in the properties you can change the scale there. And yeah, that will fit quite easily, so I'll just nudge that across. Bit messy, but I think that might do. Now, if you're worried about the scale coming up on the tags there, you can just set it to no title, and then if you like, you can manually add some text. So that works reasonably well. Another approach would be to have the site plan down the bottom and put the perspective views up above, and then put your sheet list over on this side. Maybe that might work better. So you can play around with the layout anyway. So there, the sheet list is a little bit large, but I can always take out some of the fields. So back in the list of schedules, under sheet list, you can always right click on a column and then just go to hide column. Quick way of taking that out. And then back on the cover sheet, it's a bit smaller, and I can use the arrows there to make the columns a bit narrower. So there we are, that's fitting a bit better than it was, and yeah, so that might work as a basic layout for the cover sheet. I could add some text there under those view names. So again, perspective, or just view from backyard maybe, where. How about rear yard? Now the text there should probably be centered, so when it's selected you can change that, and also the height should be greater as well. And so now I'll match the name on the site plan, so right clicking, and then I can go to activate view just to quickly change this to something else. So I've just typed in some new text there, and then to get back to working on the sheet, again right click to deactivate the view. So that's fairly well centered, just nudging that with the arrows, and then I'll copy that across so that it's in line, and then I can do again living, or maybe it's dining actually, dining and kitchen. Okay, so again I'll save the file. Okay, so now I can go and set up a new sheet, again by right clicking on Sheets All, use the same title block, and I'll call this one Floor Plans. So you can see the sheet numbers are done automatically, but the name needs to be added, so Floor Plans, drawn by, you need to put in as well. Then going back to the floor plans that I have, again there's a lot of things shown here that I don't want on the sheet, so I'm going to right click, duplicate view, duplicate with detailing, right click again on that new plan, and then go to rename. So I'm going to call this lower ground floor plan. And I'm going to go through hiding things. So again, with the reference planes, VH, we'll hide them. Don't need the boundary on this one, so VH. The trees, again, VH. And then the dimensions as well, I'll hide, so VH on those, and the elevations. The sections should stay, most of them, or the ones I want to show on the sheets, but not the ones that I don't want to show. So this section here, section 3, I'm going to keep. And so I might rename some of the sections that I'm not going to use. So section 5, I'm going to go down and in the project browser rename that, and I'm going to call it section 5 temp. And then I'm going to hide it by right clicking on it and then going to hide in view elements. The section over here I'm not going to use either, so it's section, let's see, just hovering over it, it's section 4. So again, I'm going to right click on that, rename section 4 temp. Again, now I can right click on that section line again, hide in view elements. And I only need one of these cross sections, so I'll hide this one. Again, right click, hide in view. Oh, sorry, before I hide it, check the name. So that's section 1. So again, I can go down now and rename that. Section 1 temp. And this just makes it more manageable so that once you start putting things on sheets, you know which ones to use and which ones not to. And now again, hide in view elements. And so I'm left with just the section lines that I want. Door and window numbers, I don't need either, so I'm going to select one of the window numbers, VH, and one of the door numbers, VH, and that just hides the whole category. I want shading on this, so again, I'm going to go down to the graphics, display options, and set consistent colors. And so now I can go back to my sheet and simply drag that across onto the sheet, and you can see it's come across, but it's huge, and that's because I've got an object that I missed there. So I'm going to delete that and go back to the low ground floor plan, and you can see that there's, out in space here, this boat that I'm using for one of the renderings. Now I'm just going to right click and go to hide in view elements for that. But another thing you should do to check the size that your plan will be on the sheet is turn on the crop region with show crop region down the bottom, and then just bring that in as close as you can to the edges of the things that you need to show. So I'm going to bring that down a bit here, and I actually want to bring that down past the edge of this wall so part of it gets cut away. And then back here. Now that'll remain active even if you hide it again. So I'm going to use hide crop region now. And now you'll see when I put it onto the sheet, again, just zooming in on that, I can drag lower ground floor plan across now, and you can see that the size comes from the crop region. That size that I can see there is based mainly on the size of the crop region. Now it's again probably too small for a sheet this size, so I can delete that, and I'll go back onto the sheet, and I'm going to now change the scale to 1:50. And you can see it changes everything, the text and a lot of other things. Now back on the sheet again, I'll try dragging that across. And you can see it's going to take up a lot of the sheet, but that's okay, because it leaves room for notes. So you've basically got two ways of labelling views like this. You can either do the labelling in the view, or you can do the labelling on the sheet. And there's no right or wrong way, but I'll show you on the sheet because it's an easy way. So back on the in the view, So not the sheet, sorry. I'll show you on the plan, not on the sheet. So I've opened up that floor plan and using text there for room labels, probably about 3 mil or 3.5 mil is okay. I'll do 3 mil. And so now I can just make a text box and give this a name. So this will be bedroom 1. Looking at that maybe is a little bit small, so I'll try 3.5. Sorry, I've got to go and select that again. And now I can choose the new text type. So that might be a little bit better. But that is possibly a bit unclear with the hatching in behind it. So I'm going to go to edit type, and then I'm just going to turn on the background. So I'm going to set that to opaque. And now you can see it's put a background behind the text there, makes it much easier to read. And so now I can simply copy that text for the other bedrooms. So bedroom 2. Bedroom 3. And the study. So really important that you have room labels on your drawings. So here, laundry. And bathroom, usually just bath with a full stop is fine. Okay, so now if you look at that on the sheet, you can see that all of that text comes up the right size. Now, on an A2 sheet like this, I probably could just have one floor plan on each sheet, so I could call this sheet now instead lower ground. So that should work pretty well. Right, and then I can just repeat the process for all the other floor plans. So I'll just make a sheet for one of them. So now there's ground floor, and I'm going to again right click, duplicate view, duplicate with detailing, and then right click again to rename, so ground floor plan. Now, save me doing all those same things with the view again. I'm going to go back to the one I made for the lower ground floor. I'm going to right click on it and then create view template from view. And I'll call this maybe concept plan. And click OK there. And now I can go to my new plan, right click, and then apply view template, choose concept plan, and it's going to put most of those view settings in there. So you can see it looks quite similar to the other one already. Just got to hide a few things. So up here, that boat, again, I can't hide the category. I'm just going to hide the element by right clicking, hide in view elements. And the section lines as well, I need to hide them separately. So I'm going to select them with control. I know the ones I need to hide. So those two, and then the upper one here, right click, hide in view elements. So already that's looking okay. I just need to put some text in for the room names. So basically, what have we got? Lounge or living. Dining. and that can be rotated to match the table there. And then kitchen and bath. Oh, and balcony. So that one needs to be a bit bigger and rotated. So much clearer once you've got some text. It's something people often leave out, and it's a very easy thing to do, which makes a huge difference to your drawings. So again, dragging it on there, and that fits with well. There's nothing wrong with leaving white space around your drawings. I think people try and make things too cramped quite often, and it's often a lot more presentable if you leave room, rather than trying to fill in every little space. So again, making a new sheet now. I'm not going to do the last plan. I'm sure you'll be able to work that out. So I'm going to do the elevations now. Now, unlike the plans, you shouldn't duplicate them. Now, I've got a few things here I just need to hide. So that there is something that you won't have. I've just put that in for the rendering, and you won't have this either. So I'll just quickly hide those things. So zooming in there, you can see a lot of things that are unnecessary, like the reference planes. And I can't just apply the view template I used previously because that was for a plan. So I've just got to, again, manually go and hide those categories. I don't want section lines at all on my elevation. So again, VH to hide them. The ground line, I'm going to take out by turning on the crop region. And then I'm just going to bring that up so that it's just slightly below the ground line. Generally, elevations don't need to be shown below the ground line. So I'll bring that across, and a couple of trees don't hurt. So with a shaded view, again, consistent colours is good here. Oh, they should be green. Why aren't they showing? Oh, that's all right. I'll just leave them grey. So consistent colours, and yeah, look, the trees there maybe don't help things very much, so I might hide those. No, I'll just leave them actually. It's still not too bad having those in the background there. So it's going to bring this across so that the retaining wall edges are hidden as well. I know it's not the easiest to read elevation in the world, but in some ways that makes it more important, because otherwise it can be difficult to understand this building if you don't have that view. So again, with that elevation view, I can right click and then create view template from view, and so I'm going to call this concept elevation. So now I can open up another elevation view, right click, go to apply view template, and simply choose concept elevation. And most of those view settings are going to be applied. Now I still need to go and adjust the crop region. Just going to bring that back so that only the building's shown. Again, going to bring it up to the ground line. So there we go, that's pretty good. This wall here makes it look a bit messy, so it's easier to select that right here and then put in a base offset of, again, -200, so that it goes down below the crop region there. That's good enough. And then we don't have any choice really but to show that ground being cut, which is how it should be shown in that situation. So then I've got a few trees getting in the way there, so I'm going to select them with Control. Right click, hide in view elements, and that's now much more presentable. So again, I can just bring the crop region down a little bit so that it's close to the building, and then hide it in the view so that's ready to put onto the sheet as well. So I'm just going to go back to the first one, and forgot to hide the dimensions there, and also I want to turn off that crop region. So south, again, I've got a few elements that I need to hide manually. Now I can get most of the other settings by, again, applying my view template. There we go. And then with the crop region, I can take out all the things I don't want. Yep, sure. Yeah, but I'll reduce it. It's all right. Okay, so again, I'm just going to bring that right up to the ground line. And down close to the top of the building. Again, I've got a few trees here that are getting in the way. These I can see also a little bit high, so I'll just nudge them down with the arrow key. Maybe just got a bit too far there. Oh no, that's all right, it's covered up by the wall. So then going back to the others, I'll just hide those manually, selecting them with Control, and maybe this one as well. Right click, hide in view, elements, and this can go as well. So that's much neater. And again, I'll just bring the levels out a bit so they're not overlapping the drawing. And then I can hide the crop region, and that looks fairly neat. So now finally the west elevation again just can be done in the same way. So again, applying the view template to begin with does most of the work. And now turn on the crop region, bring that across. So here, you want to get it fairly close to the retaining wall. It's a bit hard to do that at the moment, but once this has been brought down, it's much easier to adjust that side. So there we go, that's all continuous. And now coming up again right to the ground line, just makes it neat. That's how an elevation should look. Only showing the ground hatch when you need to. So again, I can hide these trees that are getting in the way of the building, bring any down that are floating, or garden beds. Again, this can just be hidden. And maybe this one actually is getting in the way, so I'll hide it. Yeah, that's alright. So, probably could be cut down further actually, that bush there, so it doesn't look so messy. There we go. Okay, so again, that can all be put onto the sheet. Oh, I'll just hide the crop region there. So I'll go and put all those elevations on now. I'm just going to leave them at 1 to 100. They don't need to be 1 to 50 elevations. And you can see here, it will line them up automatically for you. So getting the dashed lines helps a lot when you're doing that. So east and west are good to have together. And north and south are good to have together. Just makes it easier for people to read. Okay, so these again can all be centered just using control, select them, and then you can nudge them to a good place on the sheet. So there we go, that would probably do for your elevations. Maybe they could be a bit higher there, so it's centered. So that's enough for the elevations. Again, this sheet could just be called that. The sections basically follow the same approach, but they can easily be 1 to 50. So again, new sheet, same title block. So you'll see now why I labelled those sections with temp, because now I know the ones I'm going to use. So I'm going to rename section 2 to be section 1, and section 3 I'll rename and call that section 2. I'm going to open up section 1, and you can see it's horribly messy, but I can easily tidy that right up. I don't really care about having my section lines shown in the sections, so I'm going to hide them, VH. Same with the reference planes, VH. It's wireframe at the moment, but I'll set that to consistent colors, and you can see already it's much clearer. Now, sometimes it's not a good idea to show furniture in a section, so the dining table and chairs there actually make it harder to read this section, so I'm going to hide that in this view. I know furniture can be an important part of your design, but it's not always important to show it in all your views. So a mistake people make, trying to put in too much detail. Now the walls here you can see are a little bit messy, but the ceiling there, I'm just wondering why that's oh, that's my plane 200. This is a different kind of ceiling, so I'll change that to match. There we go. So now I can just use join geometry to finish tidying up all those elements. So I can join the floor and the ceiling and the walls. There we go. And there's something else there. Oh, another floor that needs to be joined to the ceiling. And the ceiling needs to be joined to the walls here. Now, if you don't want that line coming through from the wall edge, you simply need to match the material. So here it's using metal stud layer. Let's see, for the floor there, it's using by category. Okay, so I'm going to set that to finish. Gone past it. Here we are. Finish is a good all-round generic material. And I'm going to use that for my ceiling as well. And then the walls, I'll do the same thing. Okay, so it is using finish, so that's okay. So we shouldn't have that line there. Oh, my course material. So let's check that. No, that's okay. Just go to find. Okay, so because we're in course, that's why it's showing up like that. So you can see there, it's a little bit light though in section now when I go to find display, which is good for sections. So I'm going to go now into the Manage tab and then just go directly to Materials and then find that Finish Material. I'm just going to make the shading color a bit darker. So I'm just going to choose a darker grey and then darken that up quite a bit. And it's done it for the whole thing. So I'll just go back and try one other approach, which is to... Yep, okay, so I'll put a cut pattern in instead, using solid fill, and I'm going to set a colour there. So that should work better. There we are, so that's much clearer. And then finally, just to finish this off, you can see there the roof is a little bit high, so I'll move that down so that it's in line with the floor. You can simplify the structure there, but I'll leave it as is for now. Some notes here wouldn't hurt either, but otherwise that's looking okay. So I'll bring that across a bit, just so it's not over the drawing, and then hide the crop region. Now back in the firstly the scale 1 to 50. So back on my sheet, can now drag that section across. So you can see it's going to take up a lot of the sheet, which is fine. And so I can do exactly the same thing now with the second section. So with again apply view template. Oh no, so I didn't make one from the other one, so I'll just do that quickly. So right clicking on that view, create view template from view, concept section, back to the new section, apply view template, and again concept section. So that's set up most of it, but I just need to adjust the crop region there. Now it's good to have some ground shown below your section line. Oh, sorry, below your floor line. But maybe don't need quite as much as I've got here, so I'll just bring that up. Again, there's little things you could tidy up, so I could put a floor in there as well. That wouldn't hurt, but I'll leave it. Oh, no, it's an easy thing to do, so I'll just quickly... no, I'll do that later. So I'll leave that out because I need to do a different kind of floor. So I'll just hide that section box. Going back to the second section, again, turn off the section box, and it still needs a little bit of work, but it's getting there as a section. Okay, so that can now go onto yet another sheet. So this one, again, the sections, and then new sheet. And the other section. Okay, so going back to the plan now, you can see that the sections have references. So then finally I can start putting on some of the perspective views. So I'm just going to find some that are reasonable. So that one probably is okay. Now you don't need to render them all. You can, by all means, render them if you've got time, but they don't have to be rendered. So You can put shaded views onto your sheets just as easily. I'm going to make yet another sheet. And so I'll call this one perspective views. So, which was it? 4, I think, or 3. Yep, so starting with view 3 and view 4. So I'm going to rename those. So, view, so kitchen to entry. And then view 4 probably would be better if it was just changed slightly, so I just use look with the steering wheel to make that look towards the kitchen, and then I'll pan across and then use look again to bring that around. That's a bit better. So I'll rename this one entry to kitchen. View 6 and view 5, probably I'll do rendered. Oh yeah, sure. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm recording this anyway, so that's fine. I'm nearly finished, but I'll have it all saved soon. View 7, I'll probably render as well. View 8, maybe I'll put that on as a shaded view again. So, so bedroom to backyard, rear yard. And then, let's see, 9. I'll do that as a shaded view. So this can be kitchen to dining. So that might do for my shaded view. So going on to the sheet now, those can all be simply dragged on, just like any other view. Yeah, sure. Now you can see initially they're different sizes. To change the size of these, it's a bit different to a rendered view. You need to either activate the view, or you can use size crop, and that's a really good approach. So I'll start with this one, view number 2. With size crop, I can see the height there, which is 127 mil. Cancel that and go back to the first view, size crop. I'm going to set to scale, lock proportions, and then change the height there to 127. Right, so you can see the heights there match. The widths don't need to match because the proportions are different anyway. So I'm going to use a trick here. I'm going to delete that from the sheet and then drag it back on again. So I've got kitchen to entry as well. So I'll just place down here. And then what's the one that's missing? The bedroom to rear yard. So again, that one has a different size. So I'll just match the height to kitchen to entry. So with size crop, 124 mil. So I'll go to this one now, size crop, set scale, and then set the height. Okay, so there we are. So we've got some shaded views on the sheets, and just nudge that back a bit more, so it's a bit more even. And I might just bring all of those down as well. So that looks reasonable. And again, just remember to keep saving while you're doing this because it often will crash. And so now finally, just some extra rendered views I'll do. So back through the views there, not using that one, not using that one, don't think I'll use that one. This one I can render, that one I can render, and that one, oh yeah, sorry, this one here is probably the best one for rendering. So I've rendered that one previously, and you can see there it's showing this horizon with the boat that I've added from the library. That's just something you find in the metric library, and almost everything I've used here is just from the library. So that one's okay, but I'll go through the same process with some of these other views. So maybe the bedroom will be a quick one to render. Alright, so going to the have the shadows on in the first place, and then going into the sun settings. Remember, it's a bit different with 2011. You've got to go to the you've got to go to the shadows button and go to graphic display options, not the sun path options and sun settings. So that's just one slight change. Now I can just go to still, and I can use my sun that I set up previously, and it's going to give me the same sun direction. Now I might want it to be a little bit different here, so I'm going to go back to sun settings, duplicate that sun, and I'll call it my sun bedroom. I'm going to change the time there, so I'm going to go for an earlier time and see if I can get the light coming in to the room there. So 7 in the morning's maybe a little bit early, so 8 it's starting to come in, but maybe I've got to go to a later time of year, so maybe around November or something. Then clicking apply there, and I can go a little bit earlier in the day, and still not quite making it, so let's go for December. So go for 6, no, a bit too early, so let's go for a later day, no. Okay, so let's try winter. That's better. So you've got to use a bit of trial and error to get the right sun time there, but that's going to work pretty well. So now just going to the render setup. Again, I'm just going to do it with draft, but here I'm going to set the scheme to interior sun only. Click render. Okay, so you can see there it's done a very basic render, but the main problem is the exposure. So I'm going to hit adjust exposure there, and I'm going to take the brightness down just slightly, apply, and you can see gradually I'm getting all of this detail in for those areas that are outside. Now I know the bed's horrible, I'll try and get a better bed later, but for now at least you can start to see all the detail that I've got on the balcony and everything else. You can play with all these other values. I'll just make that a little bit darker maybe, and then you can adjust some of the other values. So things like white point helps a lot to make the renders cooler, and you don't want to go too cool though. That's tempting, but that's probably okay. And then the midtones and the highlights and the shadows, you can play with them if necessary, but often it's best to leave them alone. So I'm just going to click OK, and now save to project, and I'll call this say master bedroom or something. And so now back on the sheet. Oh, sorry, this one's full. I'll just do a new sheet. And so I can drag that new perspective onto the sheet just like the others that I did earlier. So I could keep rendering additional views such as this one and do exactly the same thing to put that on the sheet. And that's really all you need to do. So just remember, if you put a drawing list like mine, as you add in new views, it's going to add to your drawing list. So there, my sheet list is starting to fill up. That's all there is to it. So it's just good to, keep checking through your sheets, making sure everything's okay. So that's starting to get there, but obviously I need a couple more perspective views rendered, and that'll be it.